It is Bones, and let's go ahead and check out some custom work that I have done. Now, I had planned these out, but it's taken me a while to get to them. Now, these are going to be figures from the Dark Knight Returns wave that McFarlane released. Now, there was a horse that was built when we did this wave, which was pretty awesome. And we did get the full array of cool characters. We got Batman, Superman, the Joker, and Carrie Kelly. Now, the Carrie Kelly's pretty cool. The horse was awesome. I have a little display of Batman on the horse with Carrie Kelly in action right next to them. But since I did end up building two horses, I kind of had to figure out something to do with the extra figures. I don't normally like to just put them in a box and put them away. I usually like to do some custom work to put them on display. So I had to figure out something to do with these figures, and I pretty much came up with some pretty cool ideas. Now, I did have to find a custom head for one of them, and the other one was just a cool idea that I had. So we'll go ahead and take a look at these. First, we'll take a look at the Joker. Now, the more I pose this guy and have fun with him, he ended up being a little bit more fun than I thought at first. Pretty cool, simplistic version of the Joker from The Dark Knight Returns. Now, for a lot of these things, these ideas, you have to go back to the source material. So I do have my original, pretty well read Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, and we do get a lot of the images from in here. Now, the custom that I did for this, I knew was going to be pretty simple, and I did go back to the old Mattel releases of these figures. And when Mattel released theirs, they did give you some alternate heads. Now, one was like a deadpan faced Joker, which is actually in the graphic novel, where he's like smoking a cigarette and he's still not back to smiling yet. But the second one was pretty cool because it was a smiling Joker, but he actually had the batarang in his eye that towards the end of the graphic novel, Batman ends up wounding him when they're gonna, have their final showdown. So that's basically what I wanted to do because the Mattel one had like a little piece of batarang that was halfway cut and you actually stuck it inside the head. So what I did is I actually took one of those extra pieces I had from Mattel and I just modified it a little bit to make it a little bit more pointy because they were kind of rounded off. But I wanted the batarang to look a little bit, to have a little bit of edge to it. So I actually clipped mine to make it, a little bit more pointy. But I did end up cutting a hole into his eye so that it would fit in there. And then I did glue it in. And I added my own touch by adding little dots of blood, like little splatters of blood. Just my own little detail that I wanted to add. Now, this is from the graphic novel. It goes through the story where Joker has been in the insane asylum. He is released, and at first he doesn't smile a lot. But towards the end, when he gets into it with Batman, it does bring him, give him some life back. Now, that's another character that we did release that was awesome, was the Batman. Now, this one is really cool. Straight out of the pages of the comic. And then pairing them up with these guys is really awesome. Now, I did add his knife that he ends up stabbing Batman a bunch of times at the end of the story. He goes through the whole crowd, like just randomly shooting people. And of course, Batman in the end has to make the final decision and take out the Joker. But this was like pretty simple and easy for me. But I just had a cool idea and I thought it would look cool. And since I had the extra figure, I went ahead and did it. So now I have, two versions to display, but I also still have one more figure of the Joker. But what I'm gonna try and do is do the deadpan face. Now, I'll take the Mattel head that it came with, like the no emotion, and fit it onto the other body that I have of these. But I do want to repaint the whole suit so he has more of that dark texture color, because this suit actually has the texture on it from the graphic novel, but it's not painted in because of course this is like just a white suit. But if I paint in the textures, you'll be able to see all the little sculpt work and everything that is in there. But I'm gonna be working on that one later on. So like I said, this was a pretty fun one. Not too difficult for me. It was, for custom work, it was pretty simple. But it is something nice to have up on the shelf for my custom shelf. Pretty cool. Now the other one I did was Superman. Now if you bring out the original release that we got from the Wave, he's cool. He has a nice body shape. His symmetry and his body shape is there. He's like a thick Superman. But one thing I mean, a lot of people didn't really like, and I was like, about was the head sculpt. Now, if you look in the graphic novel, there's actually different shots of Superman where he kind of looks like this. And if you put it together and make an amalgamy, then it's probably, more reminiscent. Like, this is the most Frank Miller looking Superman. But for some reason, a lot of times in our minds, we have like a cleaner version of Superman from The Dark Knight Returns. Because, I mean, they're supposed to look ugly. Like, even the Joker, I think that when they took the panels to get the face, they actually took it from a different character. The grin kind of is reminiscent of a female that gets the Joker toxin on her. And of course, the Batman is drawn really grimy and gritty. And then, of course, the Superman, it has that same like ugliness to it. But I did have an extra body, and I actually have so many of these Dark Knight Returns Superman because, of course, I had two when we built the horses. Then I also had the 2-pack that came with the armored Batman with the different head sculpt. So that's another Superman that I had to display. So first thing I did is I looked online. Now this was like months ago or like a couple weeks ago, and I found one head that I thought was pretty awesome. I think it was only like $15. It did come in that gray, like artist proof kind of version, like resin. So I did have to paint it from the very beginning. I did get some pics of like when I first started putting the flesh tone on it. Another thing is a lot of these heads have no way to articulate them. They're like hollow on the inside. But I did figure out a way to get the full articulation on this one. So that was another thing that like I finally figured out how to get articulation if you use one of those like resin aftermarket heads that usually don't have any peg hole in it. Now this guy's cool to pair up with my custom unmasked Bruce Wayne in the armor. Of course, this is from when they have their final battle in Crime Alley. Superman gets some licks in, Batman gets some licks in, and then Superman finally rips off his helmet. Now, I did custom this one as well. He has his custom sonic gun. I did change the whole tones. These are the color tone for this. The palette is more like in the graphic novel because even the one that McFarlane did, it doesn't quite match the comic colors, but this one I tried to match it as well as I could, which was like a little bit more gray. But if we take a look at my custom Superman, I just wanted to try some new things that I've never really tried before. So if you start at the head, I did get a lot of cool skin tones painted in the lips. I did the eyes myself. And then of course you could see that he still has full range of motion. He actually uses the original peg that came with him with the Superman body, but I just mounted on this resin head after I painted it. I did the hair. Now the hair on this one was pretty crazy. It's kind of straight from the graphic novel, how it has that big curl and like sticks out. But I did do the hair as well. I did it in a matte. added some black gloss for the highlights, and then even added some blue to give it some cool life. But you can articulate his head all around. You could look down, you could look up, pretty cool. And then, of course, let's get into the suit. Now, this is something I wanted to try, which was try and like add kind of like a dark wash or like to accent all the musculature. So I just got some like dark blue and some matte black and mixed it and started going into all the crooks and crannies, all the crevices. And it came out actually pretty interesting. Like, I do like it. When you compare it, to the original release, that one looks just plain and like just plastic. And this one has a little bit more depth to it because it has all that shading that I added. But in the end, I'm pretty happy with it. I even went into adding red the same way, like adding depth into the red, like some darker reds mixed with black, and even some like lighter reds to let like some parts shine a little bit more. Like I did the emblem. I did the belt in a little bit of yellow, and I was wondering why they didn't paint the belt loops. This was like a complaint that a lot of people had. There is an image in the graphic novel that it shows the belt kind of all yellow, but I think it was just like a little artistic. It's like a little anomaly that happened where it was all yellow, but it's not supposed to be all yellow. But of course, McFarlane takes a lot of panels and tries to bring the art out of there, so that might have been what happened. But I added a little bit of yellow to his like circle on his belt, and like I said, I added some reds to the cape, to the boots, and of course I added the yellow S in the back. Now I started to wonder, does he even have a yellow S in the graphic novel? And yeah, actually he does have a yellow S, so it was cool that I added it. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with him. Something cool that I learned that I could do on other figures. Maybe I could try it on one of the extra Batman figures that I have, and add in the detail like a darker gray with all the muscle tone. So I might end up doing that. But this was a cool little, first time for me. And I even did like the skin tone on the hands and all the skin tone on the neck and on the face. Kind of like showed me a little bit more how to get different like tones. Like each piece of figure that you're working on actually has different tones, so you could see different colors in there. So pretty interesting. Now I am happy with these. They are going to be displayed on the shelf, and like I said before, this has showed me like other things that I could do to add to future customs. But you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.